Hey guys, Radical Reggie here, and you're watching Chris, the old ass retro gamer. See ya!
Hey everybody, Chris, the old ass retro gamer here, back with another video game collection 2022 live stream today. It's all about my Atari Lynx collection. Atari Lynx. Oh, why do I look so washed out? Sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. I don't understand. Maybe I should mess with the colors again. I don't know. Whatever. It'll have to do. So, like I said, welcome. I say this usually in every one of these streams. I don't. Hey, what's up, Mondane? Welcome. Good to see you. Yeah, don't do these streams to brag. I can't really do anything about the exposure. Like I said, the camera has its own little like white settings, and it's always trying to adapt. I don't know. It's annoying. I need to get a real camera instead of this damn webcam. Fuck it. Yeah, I don't do these streams to brag. I do it because, number one, it's fun. Number two, it's good content for the channel. Number three, I get to chat with people that I like hang out with. It's really cool. And number four, it's actually really good just to have a visual log of everything that I own, just in case, there's something bad that happens. Won't name it to jinx myself, but so Atari Lynx. So I do have history with this. Captain Algebra. This isn't where I park my car. Oh my God, the captain is here. The party can begin. Oh shit! I might take you up on that. So yeah, Atari Lynx. Like I said when I was doing the Game Boy stream, handhelds weren't really like a thing with me. Like me, my brother, none of my friends had any interest in the Game Boy when it first came out. It was just kind of like, yeah, whatever, Tiger handhelds. I've seen those things. They suck. This is going to suck too. And then everyone got one for Christmas. All of a sudden handhelds were the thing and everyone was trying to make one of their own. Atari was the first one that really jumped on the bandwagon right after the Game Boy. The Game Boy came out in '89, so did the Lynx. The only thing was, the Lynx did a lot of stuff that the Game Boy couldn't do. Like, number one, it was in color. Number two, it had very powerful hardware in it. It could do scaling and like things that the Super Nintendo would end up doing. And it had like a really interesting library of games. There, see, it was going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It might be the reflection on that. And maybe if I change the angle of that Mortal Kombat thing. That way, maybe? That could do it. Probably not. No, I'm going to finish it after the stream tonight. I was about halfway through it. Yeah, it had a really interesting library of games of like arcade ports that no one else got, kind of stuff. And it was really cool. Even had a commercial starring Tobey Maguire playing it while he was sitting on the toilet. Okay. The only problem was it didn't have a lot of marketing. Like, it was only getting like magazine ads and stuff like that. There was the one commercial that I remember seeing with Tobey Maguire, but like I said, for the most part, it was not being advertised as heavily as the Game Boy was. So Didn't get a lot of press. I didn't see it at a lot of the stores that I would go to. I would only see it at like the mom and pop places, which is where I got mine. Never saw it at like the Kmart's or the Venture or the service merchandise, those kind of places. Like Funkoland didn't even carry it really. So when I decided that I wanted to get a Game Boy, or a Lynx, was in I think 1991. It was right after Batman Returns came out in the theater. It had like the Lynx had the best looking Batman Returns game out there. I had seen reviews for it. I had seen, or I saw reviews for it. I saw ads for it. I remember reading a lot about it, and it just looked really, really cool compared to all the other ones that were coming out. Like I remember I went to Funkoland and I played the Genesis Batman Returns game, and I was like, fuck this shit. This is garbage. I hadn't played the Super Nintendo one because I don't think it had come out yet. So what do you do when you don't have a job and you want something that's kind of expensive? You go to your grandma. So my grandmother had come to visit, and I think it was for my birthday or something. She had come down for either my birthday or my brother's birthday, something like that. And I convinced my grandma, she was always way too like easy with her money, that I could not live without an Atari Lynx. And it turned out the Kmart where I eventually got a job, right across the street was a strip mall, and it had a bunch of restaurants in there. There was an Ace Hardware, and there was this like mom and pop software like computer store, and they carried Lynx stuff. So I convinced my grandma, I'm like, oh, we'll take a walk, because the Kmart that I worked at was maybe like a 20-minute walk from where I lived, where my parents' house were, where my parents' house was. So I'm like, oh, we'll take a walk. It'll be really nice. We can talk. We'll go to this software store. You can buy me a Lynx and a couple of games. And then we'll walk back, maybe pick up some food, get a couple of drinks at the convenience store. It'll be a real nice afternoon. I was a con man when I was a kid. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. We walked over to this software store. I convinced my grandma to get me not only the Lynx, but a carrying case and like 2 or 3 games for the damn thing. She forked up a lot of money because this thing was not cheap. It was like double the price, I think, of the Game Boy, if I'm remembering correctly. And I really enjoyed it once I got it home. Some of the games were not as good as the stuff you would get on the Game Boy. They were kind of strangely programmed. But when it came to the arcade ports, that's where I would brag to everybody that would listen. Like, you like a specific arcade game and you want a great port, it's probably on the Lynx, and it's probably the best version you're ever going to get, if the only version you're ever going to get. So I ended up having my Lynx through, I was like from 91. I think I got rid of it probably in 95. But I remember like when I was a senior in high school, we had a senior lock-in, which is like all the seniors, like the day before you graduate, you go to the school at night. They lock you into the what do they call it? It wasn't the gym. It was it was the back. It was behind the gym. I can't remember. It was something house. I can't remember what it was called. The something house or whatever. And they locked you all in. They ordered all these pizzas. They gave you games to play, and they opened up some of the exercise rooms beneath that area, and people were watching movies in there, playing board games and shit. It was really fun. Well, I brought my Lynx, and I turned out to be like one of the cool kids that night. Everybody wanted to try out my Lynx because I brought it with. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it, and I still do enjoy it. When I got back into collecting, I was like, I wonder how much that Lynx goes for nowadays. And it was when I finally decided to pull the trigger on it, it was probably like 5 years ago, and I had just gotten my bonus from work, and I basically bought everything I could with it. I got a boxed unit. I got that carrying case that my grandmother bought me. I got a battery pack. I got a ton of number one, the lot that I bought came with a ton of games still in the box, most of them still sealed. And at that point in time, this was like long before COVID, I was buying sealed copies of Lynx games for like $5, $6, $10, $12. Like, they were dirt cheap. There were certain ones that I guess didn't have a lot of copies out there, so they were more expensive than others, but I managed to like get way more games than I had back in the day in the matter of a month, in like the space of a month, for dirt cheap. I could not like believe that it was happening. Like when I did my Lynx video, when I like would add a new console to my collection, I would usually do a video about it and talk about all the games. Basically, all the games that I was showing off in that video were the ones that I got like when I initially bought my Lynx. Like I got so many at once, it was crazy. So, what is the Lynx? It's a handheld console. There were 2 versions of it. The first one is the one you see in the commercial with Tobey Maguire, where he's sitting on the can playing this, and like I swear to God, if you watch that commercial and you think about somebody who would have walked into that bathroom at his school when he was in there playing it, and you hear him in the toilet with the the stall with the door closed, going like, "Oh wow, oh," you'd think he was jacking off in there, not playing a Lynx. But that thing was massive. The original version. What's up, Retro Coop? How's it going? The original Lynx was massive. I swear, it was probably about a foot long, maybe longer than a foot. It was gigantic. And they show like Tobey Maguire pulls it out of like the inside pocket of his like sleeveless jean jacket like it ain't shit. No, sorry. That thing weighs like 13 pounds because it had a ton of batteries in it. And it was ungodly large and just weird, whatever. Luckily, when I decided I want to get a Lynx, the second revision of it was out. And that's the one that I have also right now. And the second revision is about 2/3 of the size. So it's about 9 inches long. It's like yay big. Yeah, color screen. It takes... How many batteries does this sumbitch take? It takes 6 AA's. And the cartridges slide into the back right here. And they're flat. They look like smaller versions of the Hue cards that you would get for the TurboGrafx 16. And the cool thing about this was you could play it either right or left-handed. So you have the D-pad over here, and you have like 2 sets of buttons. Well, if you're playing it normally, like, everyone plays with like a normal controller, you'd use the buttons here on the top. But if you are not able to do that, there is a flip option that has these different buttons along the sides of the screen. If you press these 2 buttons right here at the same time, it would flip the screen, and you can play it upside down. Now, these buttons are the ones that you can use. Because of the commercial. Yeah, I swear, you hear him in the background going, yeah, oh God, oh wow. You think he's pulling his pud. That's crazy. Yeah, you have an on button here. You have, what does that say? Oh, the on button, there's an off button. There's one that turns the backlight on and off. There's an option button that I think is dependent on whatever game you're playing. And then you can do combinations of buttons to do specific things like flip the console around and all that kind of stuff. It has stereo sound. You have like a little sound bar right here next to the D-pad, and you also have the sound or the speakers right here. And it's when you have the batteries in it, it's a little heavy, but not like super heavy, like that ungodly original one. Like I swear, if I were to be holding this next to the original one would be out to here. That's how big it was. You have a headphone jack up here at the top. You have one for the power if you had to plug it in. You have a volume control and a brightness control. Only things about these are nowadays, like the screens they did not use the greatest LCD screen on these things. I am thinking about getting it upgraded with a new screen because this one is like so washed out looking that it's kind of hard to see some of the games when you play them sometimes. But outside of that, this thing is pretty fantastic. It even has like rubberized grips here, which is pretty awesome. That were kind of getting a little gross when I first bought it, but it's kind of calmed down in the last couple of years because I've left it inside this carrying case. This is the one that my grandmother got me, or it's not the exact same one. It's the one, but it is the one that my grandmother had bought me back in the day. It's Velcro because that was the thing in the 90s. Put the console in there. You have pockets in the front. You have 2 different ones to put your games in because they were very tiny. It has a boot or like a belt loop in here, and then you can also use this like a wrist strap and carry it around like a purse. No, I'm sorry, not doing that. But I still keep it in this right now. Here is the OG box that my Lynx came in when I bought it. This thing was very minty when I got it. It is a little dusty now because it's been sitting up on my shelf. But it opens up like so. And it came with the original manual and everything. And even has like the registration card in it, which is kind of cool. It looked like when I got this and this finally showed up when I bought it off of eBay, it was like the guy had maybe played it a couple of times and then put it back in this box and was like, yeah, this isn't my thing. So I'm good. Well, his loss is my gain. Pit Fighter. Yeah, Pit Fighter. I'll talk about some of these games in a bit. Gotta love that color. Backlit. Yeah, if you only wear it like a fanny pack. You can wear it like a fanny pack. Not that I ever did. I would just like put this in my backpack or something. You keep mine on the rose-colored gaming stand. Nice. So here's I even got like this pouch that I was showing you. I even got it with the box. Oh, and I forgot, it even has an area on the side here where you put the cables, like the charging cable or the plug or whatever. It's really handy. Put my Lynx back in this thing so it doesn't get all dusty. Like I said, I am thinking about getting it upgraded, or getting the screen upgraded at least. And when I bought that big lot of all the stuff at once, it even came with this battery pack, which is, oh God, how many batteries do you have to put in this stupid thing? I've never used it. I didn't have to because I just used like the AA's that I had laying around. I think it's like 6 C batteries have to go into this thing. And they expect you to because it comes with a strap too. I think they expect you to carry this around. Yeah, here's a strap. You can see I haven't even opened it. It's like still sealed. Yeah. They expect you to, it has a clip for your belt too. Yeah, I am not carrying this heavy ass thing around. On top of that, look like a friggin' gunslinger. I got the battery pack on one hip and yeah, the Lynx on the other. Oh my God. No thanks. But that's just cool that I got that with it. And then there are the games. So we're going to talk about some of these. Some of them do some interesting things. So 6 Cs. Yeah, I think they're 6 Cs. It looks like 6 Cs. It doesn't really say. It just shows like a picture of it right there. Like, oh, I'm assuming those are C's. Those are D's. God damn, that thing would be like 13 pounds hanging off my hip. No thanks, pulling my pants down around my ankles and shit. No thank you. All right, so let's talk about some games. And I do have a lot. Like I said, I got a shit ton of them at once. And I've added to the collection bit by bit. I got a new one at Midwest Gaming Classic. I got a couple of them at Midwest Gaming Classics, different ones. I can't remember. Did I buy one at Mo Game Con? I can't remember. I think I did. When we get there, we'll get them. Whatever. So we got APB, which is a port of an arcade game. It's a little bit like playing Spy Hunter, but you're playing as a cop and you're basically being told, hey, there's shit going on. Go and stop them. Like usually run people off the road kind of stuff and arrest them. It's a decent port of the arcade game. I think I've only played the arcade game like once in my life. So I can't really say if this is like a good port of the game or not because I can barely remember it. Obviously, it's been downgraded graphically, but I remember when I was playing this, it's actually pretty fun. Next up, we have Basket Brawl. I actually got this at my local game store when the Q-Dogs came to visit. What was that, over the summer? Earlier in the summer, they came to visit, and then Rocket Sauce came down from Wisconsin. We met up at a pizza place, and then we went to my local game store, which is Video Games Then and Now, and they had this in the case, and it was like $12 or $13, and I was like, that's a Lynx game I don't have, even though I'm not a big fan of sports games. I'm still toying with the idea of possibly getting a complete Lynx collection because I have a lot of the games already, and to get like all the games that were released back in the 80s and 90s probably would not be a big deal since I have most of them already and a lot of the hard hitters that I got dirt cheap. But it's kind of like Arch Rivals, where it's a basketball game, but you can beat the crap out of each other while you're doing it. Not that complicated. Next up, we have the game that I wanted the Lynx so I could play is Batman Returns, and it is a side-scrolling, horizontally scrolling beat-em-up where you're playing as Batman and you have batarangs. I think you have a limited amount. You also get like these acid vials or something that are like grenades kind of. And you're just basically running around and punching the crap out of everything that comes up to you. It is actually quite difficult. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be when I got it back in the day, but I played the shit out of it. It didn't bother me at all that it was hard as hell. I kept playing it over and over again, and I ended up getting pretty close to beating it. I just never was able to because, like I said, it is quite tough. But Even comes with like a little lenticular Batman sticker to let you know that this is the real deal. Batman approved. It's a cool game. It is. It's just hard as hell. Next up this is the other game. One of the other games I got my grandmother to buy me when I first got the console. And you know me, it's another licensed game. I got Batman Returns. I got this, and I got one other one I'll show you in a little bit. That is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Yeah, this isn't the Excellent Video Game Adventure. Yeah, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's similar to the LJN game, but it's way better. So it's essentially the same thing. You're going to all the different time periods, and you're about to embark on the most excellent adventure through time and space. These two beautiful babes from medieval England, Joanne and Elizabeth, have been kidnapped by the most heinous Grim Reaper. Bill and Ted must use the circuits of time to find the princesses. Will they be most triumphant? Only you can help. Aww. But yeah, you go to all these different times, and you are collecting things from each time. You're looking for where the princesses are. It is pretty cool. It is kind of vague at times. It is all a handheld adventure game, so it's kind of shitty. There's times that I remember playing this, and I would get so frustrated. I'd be like, I have no clue what the hell I'm supposed to do next. Oh, it's not sealed. It's just in a protector. All these were sealed when I got them, though, when I first bought them. But I remember, there was times where I would get super frustrated, and I'd be like, I'm not playing this anymore. And then, a month later, I'd be like, let's try that again. And then I would get a little bit further kind of thing. So it was one of those games that I needed breaks to play to get anywhere. But it's not terrible. It's definitely, like I said, way better than the NES one. Here's one of the, I think, launch games. But I have the small boxed version. And that is Blue Lightning. This is like Atari's version of Afterburner. There's only one picture, and it looks like it was taken off of a Lynx with a camera. But yeah, it's a behind-the-plane, dogfight type game. This one really shows off the scaling effects that the Lynx was able to do that the Game Boy couldn't ever do in a million years. I don't think any handheld actually did scaling stuff, not even the Game Gear. I don't think any of them did it until the Game Boy Advance. But yeah, it's a fun game. It's just very one note. It's, you're doing the exact same thing over and over and over again, just like Afterburner. So, Dogfight Sim, if you like that kind of thing, right up your alley, it's fun. But like I said, that originally came in these, it was kind of like the 3DO games, where the 3DO games were a disc, they came in a jewel case inside the box, but the boxes were gigantic just to take up more shelf space so people would be able to see them more readily and easily and be like, oh, look at that sticking out on that shelf. No, these used to come in boxes that were like, oh shit, I'm missing a game. I gotta go grab it real quick. Talk amongst yourselves. I actually do have one of the games in that big box. I'll get to it later, but I just reminded myself that I needed to get that. Anyway, it's a fun game. It's just, like I said, very one note. Then we got Chip's Challenge. It's a puzzle game. It reminds me about Minesweeper. It's not that great. Before Chip can join the Bitbusters Computer Club and hang out with the girl of his dreams, Melinda, the mental marvel, he must solve 144 challenging puzzles. Not worth it. Just go back home and jack off. Then we have Crystal Mines 2. I think this is a sequel to an Atari computer game, like one of the Atari XE or one of those things, or maybe even Commodore 64. But I haven't played this one a lot. It just says great treasure still lies deep in the abandoned crystal mines, but over the years, underground demons have made them deadly. Guide your robot through the mines, destroying demons and gathering great wealth, or fail and become history. It's kind of hard to see what it looks like, or see what the game looks like, but to me, it looks a little bit like Gauntlet, which is not a bad thing. So I should probably put some more time into this. Probably invest in a shit ton of AA batteries. That's the other thing about the Lynx. The AA batteries actually last pretty long on this thing, regardless of the fact that it has a backlit color screen. The Game Gear was a battery vampire. You could play that thing for maybe an hour and a half and dead. That thing actually lasted for probably 3 or 4 hours, if I remember correctly. Next up, we have Dirty Larry Renegade Cop. I bought this because the title made me laugh. But it came with the lot that I got. But it's a side-scrolling, I think, run-and-gun type game, and it looks like they're making fun of the Warriors, because if you look, Larry is like shooting one of the baseball Furies in that picture. It's kind of funny. So yeah, I need to put more time into that one. Also, do you guys want to see what one of the carts looks like? I know Monday knows what these look like. The carts on these things are tiny. This is how big they are. And they're flat like one of the Hue cards, and they have like this curve at the top. Some of them have this curve, and it makes it easy to pull them out of the console when you want to remove them. Other ones are flat, completely flat, and they just have a couple of like bumps along the top to make it so you can like use your fingernails to grab them out. Not my preferred way to remove a game. But these things are tiny. 2-inch, Jesus, man. That's why I was a vampire, man. Like I said, I could play the thing for like an hour and a half at the most before that thing would die on me. But yeah, I need to put more time into that. Next up, I had this one back in the day because horror. I love horror games. That is Dracula the Undead. This is an adventure-style game, almost like a point-and-click adventure game. We were playing as Jonathan Harker roaming around Dracula's castle, and it is super cool and moody. It's probably one of the best games on this console. If you are looking to collect for the Atari Lynx, I would say this is probably be one of the first pickups you get because it is super impressive. This really shows off the scaling because, like you can see in this picture, Jonathan Harker is like walking toward the camera. Well, the thing is, as he's walking, he's like scaling, pixel scaling. It's really impressive to see in your hands. So that one is definitely worth it. Here's one of the weird ones. So I think this is the only place that this game came out, was on the Lynx. And that is Gauntlet Third Encounter. This is Gauntlet 3. I don't recall Gauntlet 3 coming out on any other console. We got Gauntlet 1 and 2 on the NES. We got Gauntlet 4 on the Genesis. This is the only place I recall Gauntlet 3 ever being released. So, yeah, exclusive. Thing about this one is they make you play the game vertically. So, to show what I mean, normally you're playing the Lynx like so. To play Gauntlet, you have to play the Lynx like this, with your thumb down here on the control pad and your other finger up here using the two buttons. You have to play it like an old arcade game where the screen is vertical. It's a little strange at first, I will admit. It really took a while for me to get used to it when I got the game in the mail. But it grew on me, and I really enjoyed it. And you can see it on the back here, how you have to play it in that vertical mode. It is a fun Gauntlet game. I mean, Gauntlet is fun no matter what. And like I said, it takes a little getting used to with those controls, but it is kind of rad. I like it a lot. Exclusivity! There's another one called... I got this one after I got the Lynx. I got this one sealed also for, I think, like $20. That is Gordo 106. You're playing as a lab monkey that has escaped his captors and is going around trying to escape the lab while he's trying to avoid the people that are trying to recapture him. Yeah, Gordo, the laboratory monkey, is free of Cage 106, but his adventure of escape and revenge is just beginning. Even with super monkey intelligence, he needs your help to explore the lab's 6 levels, freeing his captive friends and destroying the scientist in his fight for freedom. It's actually pretty fun. It's like a platformer, but it's neat. I like it. Kind of funny. Reminds me a little bit of Toki, I guess. So this one is one of the... I don't like this game in general, but it's impressive to see it working on this console, and that is Hard Driving'. This was one of the first polygon or polygonal arcade games. And it was pretty impressive back in the early 90s when the arcade cabinet came out. But they got ported to every console out there, and none of them really worked very well. I remember I had the one on the Genesis, and I was like, nope, this is absolute trash. It's slow as shit. It's very few frames per second. But the fact that you're playing a game that's all polygons on the Lynx and it's not completely unplayable is pretty impressive, at least to me. So when this was in that lot that I got with my Lynx, I was not sad about it. I was like, I want to see how that works, because I never had this back in the day. So it's kind of cool just to have that one because it's impressive. It is so bad on the Genesis, dude. I got that. I got the Genesis version in a lot from one of my brother's friends. It had, what was it? It was Altered Beast. It was Golden Axe, Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and Streets of Rage. And it came with I got the console from him too. And I played the hard drive in for like 2 or 3 minutes. And I was like, no, there's no way this is staying in my collection. Gone. I brought it to my local store and got rid of it. So that's Oh, so I should talk about this. This is the one that I have. That's the big box one. Should have been before Gauntlet. Anyway, Gates of Zendikon. This is what I'm talking about. This was like an original launch title for the Lynx. And compare the box size, people. What were they thinking? They were thinking we got to compete with the Game Boy and try to get shelf space. So these are going to be so big. No, it ended up backfiring. Nobody wanted to put these massive things on their shelf. This big-ass box for this little-ass cartridge. No. And this is one of the original ones like I was talking about. There's like little dots on the back that you're supposed to be able to like grip with your fingernail so you can pull the cart out of the console. No. These things do not want to come out when you have these little dots on them. It is almost impossible to get them out. But Gates of Zendikon is a very basic, horizontally scrolling shmup. It's got cool graphics. I will give it that. There's lots of really cool enemies. There's like these big eyeballs that are flying around and shit. But for the most part, it's just very basic, like I said. Nothing much to it. It's a very early game. I think they were just using it to show. That's like one of those, what do they call them? Like tech demo kind of things where like, look, we can do scaling in this game and all that. This is what our console does. Prepare for more to come. Yeah, but the game should also be fun aside from showing off the graphical capabilities, right? Here's one that shows off a lot of cool graphics, and that is Hydra. And this is kind of like Blue Thunder or another game. I don't want to mention its name yet because I haven't talked about it yet. But you're basically in a hydrocraft, or what do they call those things? I can't remember what they're called. The ones that like glide on the water. And you're taking out like drug dealers and shit like that, or drug runners in it. And this one is very impressive graphically because the backgrounds are like scrolling past you so fast. Like you would not play a game like this on the Game Boy. It would never work. And your reward whenever you pass a level is you park your boat at this bar or whatever, this like dockside bar, and these two bikini-clad women come out and give you kisses on the cheeks. Hail Hydra! Oh God, getting laid in the 90s on my Atari Lynx. I picked this one up at my old local game shop. People Play Games when they were shutting down. When they were closing, everything in the store was like, was it 15% off? And I got like 25% off because I was shopping there all the time. So I got this for like a whopping like $4. It was Ishido, The Way of the Stones, and it's like a puzzle game that reminds me a little bit of like Go or Othello, where you're just like trying to match up colored stones. It's not that good, which is why I was not mad that I paid like $4 for this. It's not a great game. It's not fun. That's where I parked your car. Yeah, bro. I picked this one up at the Midwest Gaming Classic, I think in 2018 or 2019. I got this in one of the ones when it was at the convention center. And that is Joust, one of my all-time favorite arcade games. I even have a shirt of Joust. I like it so much. And it's a very good port where you're a knight that's sitting on top of a giant ostrich, and you're basically jousting. You know, you have to knock the other players off of their ostrich, and when they get knocked off, they turn into like an egg, and you have to go and like collect the egg to like keep them from coming back, and just keep on going and going and going. The level layouts change every time. There's like a big pterodactyl thing that comes if you're taking too long. It will whoop your ass. But it is a super fun port of this arcade game. I highly recommend this one a lot. Like I said, their arcade ports are very awesome. And here we have Clax, one of the most common puzzle games out there next to Tetris. This is available on every freaking console. And this came with the Lynx when I bought it. And all it is a tile matching game. But they're coming down not a treadmill. I guess a treadmill. They're coming down like this track, and you have to like move the you move the blocks back and forth along the track. There's like I think 5. Yeah, there's 5 tracks. You have to move them around in order to match them up when they fall off into this like container. And once you get 3 colors in a row, diagonally, vertical, horizontal, they disappear. It's fun. I mean, but it's if you like Tetris, you'll like it. It's like a good variation of that type of game. And then we have Kung Food, and this came with the console when I got it, and it is a beat 'em up where you're playing as a man made of broccoli, and you're basically fighting your way through a kitchen for reasons. It is not that great. I mean, it's a cool idea. It's fun. It looks silly, but like the controls are not that great, so it kind of makes it hard to play. But like I said, the idea is funny. You have the Game Boy port? Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. This came with the console when I got in that lot. Otherwise, I would have never bought this game unless I was going for a complete collection. So I have Malibu, Bikini, Volleyball, Boobs. And funny thing is, it's actually not a bad volleyball game. It could be better, but I mean, just the fact that it's playable on a handheld console doesn't make me want to like smack the console up against my forehead. Says something. So yeah, there's that. But the best part about it is the cover art. Boobs. Great port. I picked this up. I think this is the one that I picked up at Midwest Gaming Classic this year. Yeah, I got this in 2022, back in April. And that is Miss Pac-Man. I've been looking for this one for a while. This is one of the more expensive games for the console for reasons. Boobs. Yeah, I don't understand why Miss Pac-Man would be one of those games that collectors are clamoring for, but it is apparently. The only problem is if there was one game that needed to be played in that vertical mode, like Gauntlet, it's this one because those Pac-Man games are all vertically oriented at the arcade. So what did they do for the Lynx port? They squashed it. The layouts are correct. They're not like the Atari 2600 game, but man, playing it like this is not the greatest. But it is cool to have like a very simple game like this. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a good port. It's just, the screen orientation is weird. But outside of that, yeah. It's cool. Never got one of the original Pac-Man on the console. Okay, here's where things get weird. So I had this one back in the day. I had to go looking for this one outside of that lot that I got of the Lynx games. This one and the next one. So I'm a huge fan of it. Well, I am a fan of this Nintendo game series, but it actually began in the arcades, and the arcade game is nothing like what we got on the NES. Not at all. We're talking Ninja Gaiden. So on the NES, Ninja Gaiden is a side-scrolling hack-and-slash platformer type game, right? In the arcade, where this game began, it was a beat-em-up. And you were just roaming around the streets, beating up random thugs in hockey masks. But you can do a lot of really cool acrobatic stuff. Like you can like somersault off of items. You can like grab onto like a pole if it's above your head and like swing on it and jump off and like kick people in the head. It is really fun. And I remember playing the arcade version when I was visiting my grandmother in Ohio. Every one of my family members that lives in Ohio, they live right on the Pennsylvania border. And one time we went to Pennsylvania. My grandma took me and my brother to Pennsylvania for some reason. I think it was to go to get Coney dogs or something at this one restaurant she liked. A restaurant she liked across the border. And on the way back, we passed up like this go-kart. It was go-karts. It was water slides. It was archery. It was an arcade. It was like this huge park. And we were like, hey, can we stop there and check some stuff out? And she was like, yeah, sure. So we did some go-karting or whatever, and the arcade had the Ninja Gaiden arcade cabinet. And I played the crap out of it. It was kind of awesome. And I was like, why? This is nothing like the one I know. And I wanted it really, really bad. This is the only place you can get it. So I had to have this back in my collection again. It is super fun. Little frustrating at times, but it's super fun. I do believe you could have downloaded that on the Wii arcade, whatever. The online, we are online arcade. I don't remember what it was called. It's been a long time. Because I do believe I have that on my Wii. I'll have to check. But then there was also Ninja Gaiden 3, The Ancient Ship of Doom, which is a port of the NES Part 3. There's no part 2. Never got a port of the original Ninja Gaiden for the NES part 2, or and no one else got that port that the Lynx got. But there is a pretty faithful port of part 3 available on the Lynx, and it's pretty cool, I will admit. I don't have 3 on the NES. I have this, so I guess I don't need to buy it on the NES. Yeah. But yeah, it's just as hard as the NES game, and even more so because you're playing it on this Lynx with like the weird button configuration that it's got. But it's rad that it's on this console with the cinemas and everything. This came with the console when I got it, and that is Pinball Jam. It's like 3 different pinball tables in one. And you know me, I love my digital pinball. Which ones are there? Elvira and the Party Monsters. Oh, there's only 2. Elvira and the Party Monsters are Police Force. Actually kind of fun. You can see the picture. You got Elvira's digital boobs and the Police Force table. Actually kind of fun. A little slow for a pinball game, but what can you do? I'm telling you guys, this is going to be one of the shorter streams when it comes to this stuff. More boobs! So I remember I was talking to Captain Algebra the last time we went shopping out in Wisconsin in September, that the Lynx has the best version of this game. I know he has to buy it for his Genesis collection to get the complete collection. But what's up, TJ? Hamster's Arcade Archives. What? But yeah, how you doing, DJ? How you doing? Welcome. I did not know that at all. Well, at least it's out there now for people to play. But we're talking Pit Fighter. This is the best version of this freaking game. I used to play this in the arcade all the time. This was pre-Mortal Kombat, digitized actors, fighting game in the arcade. I played it all the time, even though it was not the greatest. But I remember when I got my Super Nintendo, I ran out like the day it came out and got a copy of Pit Fighter because I was like, there's one game that's going to show off what the Super Nintendo can do. It's going to be Pit Fighter, man. Those actors and shit. It's got the people, they're real. And then I played the game and realized, oh, this was made by Mindscape, or this was released by Mindscape. I made a mistake, and I took it back. I was so mad. That port is god-awful. The Genesis one is a hell of a lot better. This is the best of the bunch. I don't know why. But it's just a simple beat-em-up where you get to choose between 3 different characters. There's like a wrestler type guy. There's like a kickboxer, and there is a martial arts dude. And each one plays completely differently. And you're basically in a pit, and different enemies come at you. Sometimes you have multiple people to take care of in the pit at once, which is frustrating as hell because you're getting spammed from behind. We're trying to beat the crap out of somebody else. A lot of times you don't get your health back in between rounds. It sucks. But if you want to play Pit Fighter, this is probably the best version of it. Like I said, the Genesis one ain't bad. It's not good. It's just not bad. That's the best one. This came with the console, and that is Power Factor. I knew nothing about this when it showed up because I did not have this back in the day, but it is a side-scrolling like platformer run and gun. And from what I understand, it's also got a lot of puzzles type things like in Metroid where you have to like get a specific thing in order to access an area kind of situation. So I have not sat down and played much of this. I tried it out just to make sure it worked when I got it, but I haven't played it very much, so I can't really comment. But, I mean, you got to admit, those graphics are pretty rad. And the sprites are pretty big. So, yay. Another arcade port, and that is Kicks. Of all games, Kicks, right? And what is Kicks, you say? Or you ask? You're basically playing as like a pen. And you're cordoning off areas of the play field. There's like this, I don't know what you would call it, like this electrical field that's like bouncing around, and if it touches you, you're dead. If it touches the line that you're drawing as you're drawing it, you're dead. You have to completely close off the box that you're trying to draw, and then it gets taken out of play. You can kind of see it there. The red areas and those blue areas, those are the sections that have been closed off that you've completed the shape. And once you've done that, you can't really do much. The little spark thing can't really do much to you. You need it. It's actually pretty fun. This has the Atari seal of quality. You know it's good. It's a decent port of the arcade game. I used to play this in the arcade all the time. I think I also used to have this on like the Atari 2600 or something. Kicks, lewd Kicks. Ooh, oh, the Japanese Kicks games. Oh, I know what you're talking about, you filthy, filthy boy. Next up is another, I think, arcade game. That's Rampart. I do think this is available on the NES also, and I definitely know it's available on the Genesis. But it's a tower defense game. Weren't many games like this around at the time, so we got a port on the Lynx. And it's not bad. I need to put more time into it. Bloop. Here is one of the games that I was supposed to get from Mindscape for beta testing Mad Max. And this is the one they never sent me. They were going to send me the two. I said I wanted 720 Degrees and Road Blasters, and they never sent me Road Blasters for the NES. But I ended up getting it for the Lynx back in the day. So there's that. But what is Road Blasters? It's actually a pretty fun racing style game. It's kind of like Mad Max, mixed with, I don't know, Road Rash maybe? Because you're like fighting as you're driving. So you can shoot guns and stuff, and you can get rockets and whatnot, and you're always picking up gasoline while you're driving around trying to take out all these villains on the roads, and you'll get add-ons to your car that'll get dropped on top of your hood, and it's like on top of where you drive. It's actually kind of cool. You can see it on the cover, like on top of the hood, you have like a machine gun. It's actually pretty fun and a decent port. This one I still haven't played, but I hear not so great things about it, but this came with the console when I got it. That is Robo Squash. Squash is like playing handball, isn't it, in England? Well, that's what this looks like, where it's a 3D squash game. I'm trying to think, like, there's those 3D breakout style games where the ball comes back. Instead of the ball bouncing up and down across the screen, it comes towards you, and you have like a hand or something to hit it, and it'll go away from you and break a block on the far side of the arena, and then bounce back, and you have to like bounce it away. It's like that. You can see that square. Sorry. That square right here, and that's like your paddle. And the colored blocks in the background are like on the other side of the arena, and I bounce the ball back and forth. Man. Rad Racer with guns, essentially. Yeah, you got it. You get it. I picked this one up at the Midwest Gaming Classic, I think in 2018. And that is Robotron 2084, another arcade port. I used to love this arcade game. I used to play it all the time when I was a little kid in the early 80s. Thing is, if you ever played Robotron 2084, when you're playing on a big screen TV, you're playing it in the arcade, or you're playing it on your Atari 2600 or whatever, you're playing it on television, the sprites are kind of small. But when you're playing it on big TV, it's not that big of a deal. When you're playing it on the Lynx, though, everything's just a little dot running around, and it's really hard to figure out what you're looking at. Which is my only problem with this game. When you realize what is going on, it's not that bad. But like I said, it's just at first you're like, my eyes are crossing. I have no idea what's going on. There's so much shit going on screen. I don't know what the fuck this is. But once you get used to it, it's not terrible. Not the best port of that game. Then we have another arcade game, but we did get a port of this to the NES. But this is not that NES version was not a what's the term? It was not a complete port, I guess. It wasn't authentic to what the arcade game was, but Rygar on the Lynx is. So Rygar on the Atari, the Nintendo, I almost said the Nintendo 64. Wow, I need to go and take a nap. I'm an old man. When on the Nintendo, Rygar is more of an adventure game. This is essentially a beat 'em up. That's all it really is. You play. It looks very similar, because the arcade game looked the way the NES did, but all you're really doing is just running around beating the shit out of things. There's no adventure. There's no like looking for keys and doors and new weapons and stuff like that. It's very straightforward and very simple, and a lot of fun. I actually prefer this to the NES game. Not arcade perfect. Thank you. My brain ain't working right now. I haven't had anything to drink. Not alcohol. I need to hydrate. And it's been a very long day. Daddy need a nap. So this one I bought after I got my lot of stuff, and this turns out to be a port of a 7800 game. It's called Scrapyard Dog, and I got this for like dirt cheap. I got this for like $10, $12. And it's like a platformer where you're playing as a kid looking for your dog who's been taken away to the pound. And how complicated can a 7800 game be? It's just weird that there's like a platformer like this available on this console, or on the 7800, because the 7800 was mostly ports of Atari 2600 games are like more authentic ports of what the arcade games they were based on were. There's like I think they had Double Dragon even on the 7800. But if you look at the graphics, I mean, that's pretty. I mean, this is what a 7800 game looked like. That's kind of impressive to me. But whatever. I have not put a lot of time into that one, so I can't really comment it. Get my tea. I'm out of tea, bro. I got to go grocery shopping tomorrow before the podcast. You know what I'm saying? So, me and those Psygnosis games, I had to get them all. Well, turns out there's a Psygnosis game available on the Lynx, too, so I absolutely had to have it. And I actually own this, how many times now? One? I think that's the only one I have. So I own it twice. That's Shadow of the Beast. I had this on the Genesis also, and it is a side-scrolling platformer, puzzle beat-em-up type game. And the graphics are very awesome for this console. I mean, they are very detailed. The animations are pretty good and all that. It plays okay. I honestly think this is better than the Genesis one, but that doesn't really say much because I still don't think this game is all that great. But graphically, it's pretty impressive. Podcast hype! Yay! Got this when I got my console in the mail. This is part of the lot, and that is Shanghai. Do I really need to talk about Shanghai? Everybody knows what the hell this is. It's Mahjong. The thing is, if you're just looking for something casual to play, this is the way to go because it's actually not a bad Mahjong game. Can't complain. Here's another one of those really impressive ones like Hard Drive-In. Don't expect to see this kind of stuff on a console from 1989. But you got Steel Talons, and I think this is on the Genesis also. But this is another polygonal game where you're playing as like a helicopter taking out other airborne vehicles and stuff, and you're flying through canyons and whatnot. You would never see something like this on the Game Boy at the time. None. No way in hell. It's pretty impressive, but this thing plays at like 10 frames a second, which is the big issue with these types of games on a console like this. So if you like playing your games like it's like going like this, the way I'm blinking, if that's your speed, then it's perfect. But not a great game. Here is the other game I got when my grandmother bought the console for me back in the day. So I got Batman Returns, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and this because I absolutely love the arcade game this is based on. Turns out this is also my favorite game on the Lynx because this is a great port of this game. And that is Stun Runner. I absolutely love this port. I played this game the most out of any game I had for my Lynx back in the day, and currently also. Whenever I just feel like breaking out the Lynx, this is the game I always go for. And what is Stun Runner? It's a racing game into the screen, but the thing is, you can ride the walls. So, like, you're driving through these, like, cylindrical tunnels, and you can go up the walls and do loops and shit like that, and there's enemies you can shoot at. You have, like, these wings on the sides of your vehicle that can get knocked off when you take hits, so you actually have, like, 3 hits before your character dies. And it is a ton of fun. And the speed... The thing about the arcade game was a lot of the ones that I used to play in the arcade, you had to like sit in a seat. It was almost like sitting in a motorcycle seat, and you had to like turn to play. You can't do that here, obviously. But it feels just like the arcade. And it plays just like the arcade. The sense of speed is great because of the scaling. You can see the way the tunnels are kind of like colored like that to like show the sense of speed as the colors speed past you. It is so cool. My favorite game on this console. That's what Sewer Shark should have been. I like Sewer Shark. It's so cheesy. I loves it. This came with the console also, and that is Super Squeak. Didn't know anything about this when I got it because I never had this back in the day. Still haven't played it. But what is it? How do you keep a monster away? Paint his place pink. You will have to help Squeak to paint all 50 levels, rescue the kidnapped Squeakettes, and avoid being killed by the monsters all at once, and it's not as easy as it sounds. Okay, well, you fooled me. I have no idea what this game is like because I have not played it. Whatevs. Maybe it's like Q-Burn or something like that. I don't know. So I have the first game on the Genesis in this series because I got that game for the Genesis because I have this on the Lynx. The first game only came out, I do believe, on the Amiga or the Commodore 64 or whatever, and then randomly there was like a Kickstarter for a port of it to the Genesis, And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, sure. I should probably get that since I have the second game on the Lynx. We're talking Switchblade 2. This game, I think, was by Gremlin. It's a British game developer. And like I said, these games are available on the Commodore 64 and the Amiga. And it's a run and gun, beat 'em up platformer, if I remember correctly. The Genesis one I wasn't a big fan of because it doesn't scroll. You have your screen, you run across the screen, you get to the other side, it freezes, and the next screen loads. It's like, no, I thought we were past this. This is Atari 2600 garbage. And I think this one does the same shit. But whatever. It's like an exploration-y, like, I don't want to say like Metal Gear. It's almost like Metroid, I guess, but without a lot of the backtracking. But yeah, I had to have this. I remember seeing this at the store where I got my Lynx when my grandma bought it. And I remember seeing it in the case and going like, oh shit, that looks rad. Look at that cover art. That's rad as hell. Never got it. I did get this one, though. This was the next game I got after my grandma bought me the Lynx. So I got Batman Returns, Bill and Ted, Stun Runner. And then when I got my job at Kmart, I was buying Genesis games while my Super Nintendo was on layaway. And I was also running across the street to this little software store that I got the Lynx at to buy Todd's Adventures in Slime World. And this is available on the Genesis also. But this is where I played it first. And it is an adventure, like, I wouldn't call it a run and gun. I guess you could, but it's more of an adventure game where you're playing as this dude who's running through these slime tunnels, and your only weapon is a water gun. And water is the only thing that will damage the enemies in the tunnels because the water washes away the slime. If you kill one of the enemies, and they always explode, and slime goes flying everywhere, and if any of it gets on you, it like soaks into your clothes, and you'll see your character who's normally blue start to turn like a darker shade of green. You have to find these water pools in order to wash yourself off, and that's like getting a health pack. And then you're back to normal. And it is super fun. I absolutely love this game. It's one of the games I played the most on the Lynx. I played all the time on the Genesis. I put the Genesis version on my Diamonds in the Rough on the Genesis video because I love it so much. So if you're going to get a Lynx, this is one of the ones to get. It is super fun. Absolutely love it. I was talking about Toki when I was talking about that Gordo 106, and there's a port of the arcade game Toki. And I got this dirt cheap when it came out, and it is a pretty faithful port. You're playing as a dude that got turned into a fire-breathing ape for some reason, and you're trying to rescue your girlfriend. It's like a platformer run and gun, I guess, run and gun. There's a port or a new version of this available on the Switch, which I do have, but I had never played the arcade game this is based on. I've only played this and the Switch version, and I can't complain. They're both pretty fun. But this is a port of the original arcade game, not the revamped one that came out on the Switch, obviously. But super cool that this came out. Another really good arcade port. Got this at People Play Games when they were closing. I got this for a whopping $2. And I'm not kidding. They had like 15 copies of this on the shelf, and I got a sealed copy for $2. I haven't played the Genesis one. I've never played the Genesis one, but that one is really good. And that is Tournament Cyberball. It's robot football. And the only reason I bought it was because it was $2. And it looks like Madden, I guess, but I could really care less. But I bought this, number one, like I said, $2. But the other reason I bought it was, well, just in case I decide to go for the complete Lynx collection, at least I got this one out of the way, and it was only $2. So, yeah, there's that. This one came with the console when I got it, and that is Turbo Sub. This is you're like looking through the periscope of this submarine, and you're basically just taking out enemies that you see. And this one is another one that shows off those scaling capabilities of the console, and it is really cool the way it works. It's like I said, this was one of those things where I'd be like, look, to my friends back in the day, I was like, look, this is what this console can do that the Game Boy can't. This is why this is better. And people would just be like, yeah, whatever. I like get the Mario games on that console. You can't get the Mario games on the Atari. Whatever. It's a massive arcade machine. Never even seen one. But yeah, this is another impressive one. I highly recommend picking that one up. This one I knew nothing about. I picked it up because it was cheap on eBay after I got my Lynx. I was trying to get all those different games I could. And this one is Viking Child. And this one is a side-scrolling platformer, if I remember correctly. But the funny thing is the box doesn't show that. There's like a map of the world that you played through, and there's like a picture of you going to the tavern where you buy items to play with. The centuries-old prophecy has come true. A young Viking child named Brian, that sounds authentic, has been born, destined to join the heroes of the world. He must enter the halls of Valhalla and do battle with the evil god Loki. Oh, he got his own show, huh? Who has captured Brian's family from their village in the far north. But first, he must journey forth alone and conquer Loki's powerful apprentices. The legend begins. It's actually kind of cool. Like I said, I wish there was a picture of what the gameplay looks like, but that's not here. But that's actually a pretty fun game. This one I had to get because another one that shows off what the Lynx could do. There's really not a lot of game here, but I can't complain. I got this one cheap also, and that is Warbirds. And this is like the Red Baron type of thing, like World War I dogfighting. And you're inside like a Red Baron type airplane, and you're trying to take out other airplanes. And you have a complete 360 view of your surroundings when you're in the cockpit. And the scaling is off the charts on this. It is absolutely incredible what this game does. The only thing is, there is really no campaign. There is no story mode. It's basically like little skirmishes. Like, I got one. I want to take out a plane. Okay, go out and take out a plane. Game over when you do. Try again. The Life of Brian. Yeah. It is super impressive, but like I said, there's not much of a game here. It is basically a tech demo, but a very impressive one. I highly recommend picking that one up. Here's another one of my favorite arcade games that got ported to the Lynx, and I got this with my lot. And that is Zybots. I remember I used to play this at an arcade that was near one of my friends' houses. Whenever I would sleep over their house when I was a kid, the day after, it was like Saturday, we would always go to this arcade, and I'd always play this. And it's kind of like I don't know how to describe it. It's like a third-person action game where you're running around these mazes trying to take out all these different robots. And the cool thing is, it's like screen by screen, kind of like a dungeon crawler. You know, where you move forward one like block, and then you move forward another block. The thing is, when you move forward a block, since your character is in the middle of the screen, you can actually run left and right along that block when the enemies show up, and you can just run, you're strafing back and forth to shoot them. And it's really, really fun the way it's set up. It's a lot of fun. I love this one a lot. I used to play it all the time, and I play it all the time on the Lynx as well. What's up? What's up, Peter? I have so many Lynx games you're able to make it. A Lynx being collected by a cougar. Oh, by the way, hello. And guess what, Peter? The stream is ending. Because the last game I have to talk about today is Zarlor Mercenary, another shmup. But this one is a vertically scrolling shmup compared to Gates of Zendikon, which was horizontal. Not a lot of shmups on this console. This one is okay. The thing is, like, the shmups that I do have, they're like the most basic shmups you could possibly get. I think there's also Raiden is available on the Lynx also. That one is probably going to be the best one. I still need to get a copy of that. But the two that I do have are very bare bones. There's not much to this one. It's just zap, 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 shoot everything, buy some items. Not much to it. And that is it for the Lynx, everybody. As you can see, I have 4 stacks of games here. That's a lot of Lynx. I got most of it all at once, like I said, when I bought my Lynx off of eBay. It came in a gigantic bundle. And then I would buy games here and there as I felt I needed to. I'm still flirting with the idea of going for a complete Lynx collection because, like I said, I have a ton of them already. There's only maybe like 20 more games to go for like the original set. Now there's tons of aftermarket shit out there. I don't even want to touch that. Last time I went to the Midwest Gaming Classic in 2022, I came across a table that had like 30 different aftermarket Lynx games. One of them was an RPG like Final Fantasy, and they wanted almost $100 for it. And I was like, I would love to have that for my Lynx, but $100, eat a dick. Did I get the Ghostbusters game? No. Probably not going to be buying any games until after... Let's see, we got this weekend. The next weekend, I got stuff going on that I don't want to be spending money because I need to save money for that weekend. But after next weekend, I should be okay, and I'll probably buy it then. But I do want it because, obviously, Jason from Corpse Flood Gaming wants to play it because he's a huge Ghostbusters fan, and we play those co-op games together like that. So I will be getting it eventually, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre one probably too. So we'll see how that goes. But schmups. Yeah, Raiding on the Lynx is expensive. Yeah, that's why I haven't picked it up yet. But like I said, there's a ton of aftermarket stuff out there. I haven't even touched those yet. But I just, if I do go for the collection, I'm just going for like what originally came out. I think I have maybe 20 more games to go. And the weirdest thing is, the game that came with my OG Lynx when I bought it, there was a pack-in game that came with it, was California Games. That is one of the more expensive games out there because just like Super Mario Brothers on the NES or Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo, getting a version after they decided not to package that with the console anymore in a box of its own is really expensive because that was not something they made a lot of. So I really need to get a copy of that. I played that all the time too. It was super fun. Probably the best port of that game also, because I remember I couldn't even really play that on the computer. My dad had it for his Atari computer, and I hated it. But playing it on the Lynx was actually pretty fun. I could actually do the surfing, which is weird. But yeah, a lot of the original games that came out, like the first wave of games that came out, those are the kind of the expensive ones. But we'll see. Like I said, I haven't really said I'm going to do it or not yet. We'll see maybe at the next Midwest Gaming Classic. I always find Lynx games there. I just never think to buy them except, like, I got bought one. Like I said, I got Miss Pac-Man at this year's MGC. I got Joust at, I think, 2019, and I got Robotron 2084 at 2018. We'll see. Maybe that'll be what I go for at the Midwest Gaming Classic in 2023. Is maybe I'll just try to buy Lynx games. We'll see. But yeah, that's it, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow with a brand new short, a spooky one tomorrow, all about the Halloweeny. Not my weenie, Halloweeny. I just said that. I instantly regretted it. Don't judge me. I'm tired and I need to get something to drink. I'm dehydrated. Yeah, I'm going to have a short tomorrow about like some scary games. And I'll be back next Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Central for the next live stream about the games in my collection. This is probably the shortest collection live stream I've ever done. Wow. I'm kind of proud of myself. Now I can go and play The Walking Dead. Yeah. Need more spookies. I'm so scared. Don't be scared. So thanks everybody for coming and hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. You're all awesome. Glad you're here. So I'll talk to you later. Chris, the old ass retro gamer, out. Have a good night, everybody. Stay safe. I'll talk to you later. Oh yeah, everybody. There won't be a recent pickups video this month. I have not gotten enough stuff to even warrant doing one of those. So there will be an October/November stream at the end of next month. Just keeping you on your toes. Ha ha!